The very first time that I saw like an animatic, just very simple line drawings and no animation, I got really excited. I was like, oh, I can totally see what this is going to be. I see how this is going to make people feel and how it's already making me feel. Just kind of this feeling of like awe. And I've really struggled to describe this, but there's something about an animated music video like this that just like the combo of the music and the visuals, it makes you, I don't know, reflect on life and the time that you've spent with the game and with the characters. Hey, this is Porter Robinson, and I wrote the music together with Brendan Williams for the new Star Guardian music video, Everything Goes On.
I'm Thiago. I'm a creative director over at Riot Games, and I am the creative vision behind Everything Goes On, the music video.
I also love that that this short begins with the characters just laying in grass. That imagery is something that I obviously can't get away from. I use that in so many things, and it was really inspired by the anime Wolf Children, which is one of my favorite pieces of media of all time. It's this story about a family in an unusual circumstance, and it's really heartbreaking and beautiful.
This is something that like we took like a deliberate step of like how we want to open this this piece. We really wanted to like throw back to a moment that the two characters, Akali and Xayah, are not Star Guardians. They are not like caring about like their celestial duties. It's like truly about friendship, and it's symbolized by these two icons, which is the friendship bracelet, right? And as you're gonna see throughout the whole piece, that kind of like is the thread of the symbolism of like their friendship. And as you like follow it, like it actually becomes like a point of like sacrifice, like from Xayah's side, and like that friendship continuing with Akali. So what you see here, it's kind of like the last remain of Rakan that Xayah has, right? So we wanted like to play with this almost like a metaphor of like the last thing that like she holds on to it. It's the as close as she can get to her her lover, right? Like her partner. What's interesting about it is that her connection with this feather, it's actually what causes and kind of like inspire her sense of corruption, of guilt. She carries like this like extreme burden and guilt with her. We wanted to kind of like portray that in like this pretty abstract kind of metaphor of like her running through the corridors of Valorant High after this feather. And with each touch that like she gets to the feather, one memory triggers, like and kind of playing like on all that kind of baggage that these characters have, right? Like there's like a lot of stories that we don't necessarily tell players in different like pieces, but kind of like showing that like little sliver of a life that like happened between Xayah and Rakan. It's really interesting, like it makes the characters like super believable and relatable. The darkness is like essentially to symbolize that this is what's consuming her, right? Like it's like a grieving process. Like you have to kind of grieve in like a specific way in order to heal. And looking back and kind of like diving into that darkness or being consumed by that darkness is essentially what keeps you in the dark, right? And another detail that is pretty interesting on that like staircase scene, we really wanted to like make sure that the idea there's no going back. Once you are a guardian, you are a guardian for life. So the stairs kind of disappearing play onto that, like that notion that like there's absolutely no way of going back.
I moved a line from the second verse, but for now I'll just bring the sea to you, to the end of the first verse, because something about it, the combination of Xayah like reaching forward and she's like chasing after the feather, and yeah, like just like the fact that she's sort of physically straining to get after this thing, and there's all these memories that are occurring to her suddenly, like it was a moment that really gave me the chills. It's like little things like that, like from watching the video, that end up informing a lot of the musical decisions, especially when it came to time to like doing the edit. So that's like a moment that I really love. I think it's beautiful.
And here she gets to like take a last look at her friendship with Akali. So what we wanted to do here is kind of have almost like it's a window / mirror kind of a metaphor of Akali playing like a huge part of who Xayah is, and vice versa. But that being in this moment separating them by like this piece of glass, right? So they're no longer together. So we wanted to really emphasize that like through visuals, like that like story of them kind of breaking apart. And like in this scene, like it's iconic from Light and Shadow, the idea that Rakan was taking all her corruption into himself as a sacrifice, and that kind of being like the driver for Xayah to feel the way that she feels, like broken and not whole. And here, like what we wanted to do with like that piece of glass from that window, we wanted to kind of create a connection between that and her transformation. So it's really important for us to like work with the animation studio to try to make each shard empower and infuse her outfit, right? Like a connection that is like a completely like stemming from that friendship. Her transformation is triggered by the shattering glass. And what you're gonna see here is that like a lot of times in Magical Girl, like you have the transformation as a way of like feeling like extremely empowered and extremely extraordinary. What we wanted to do here is that have those fireworks, but show how painful that is for Xayah. So it's very emotional and kind of very like a twist into how we look into transformation sequences, especially when she falls on her knees. The mechanics of Star Guardian are very interesting in the sense that if you fail, if you succumb, you turn into the evil, the cosmic evil that you've been fighting like against, right? So there is like in terms of pressure, this idea that like if she fails, not only like her family, her friends, they're all at risk, but also like the idea that like she could become one of the monsters, you know, like, so there's like a very interesting tension there.
I was writing the song from that perspective of like someone, you know, the person who's taking the magical girl oath, telling their partner, like, just try to forget about me, it'll be easier. It's kind of like the trope of the like when someone has like a beloved pet that's following them and they're like trying to tell the pet like, you can't come with me anymore. It's like, it's that heartbreaking goodbye that like only one half of the party can understand, I guess. So that was just like part of the inspiration for that. And for whatever reason, like a sunset matches that so beautifully. It's like the day is ending. You're having to confront some real change as you plunge into tomorrow.
But now Xayah on her knees, broken but like transformed, she still is hopeful, right? We didn't want to show the character completely emotionally broken, that she had to do something, like had to give away something that was so dear to her. So we wanted to show that she still believes in that friendship and she still wants to make that work. And that gives her like strength to fly out like from that like celestial place and into like the real world. We really wanted to like stem that, like even though she sacrificed the friendship, even though she was like there's a lot on her shoulders and a lot of weight, in the end she was very hopeful. Here for Xayah, that's her last leap, right? So she is willing to do anything to just have that feather back, because it's like the only connection she had remaining with Rakan. And that's when she was about to fall, like on, like over the roof, over the rail on the rooftop of Valorant High. And that's when her friends are there to protect her and help her.
There's sort of like sunset hues that you see on top of the school building were definitely the initial like color scheme that I had in my head when I first started writing the song. I have this thing that happens when I write music where I'll just like passively visualize like places, and it's not like it's not an inspiration thing. It's not something I try to like, let me think of someplace beautiful while I'm working on music to help the song go better. It's just something that happens to me where I'll just get these images in my head that are, sometimes they're like totally random and arbitrary and don't end up inspiring the final visual in any way. But this sort of like sunset idea, it works in my head so well, because I knew that when I first started this song, I wanted there to be a lyrical element that was just like really about goodbyes and about things ending. And the grief and the beauty that kind of comes with those like bittersweet endings.
And this is like a pivotal moment for the story, like in the sense of that she is not even like willing to accept her friends and her teammates to help her in her mission to find Rakan. It's very interesting to see her like surrender. This is the moment where she like completely breaks down, and Seraphine is there to like really like bring her back up. And I think like that's ultimately like the message here for especially Xayah, is the idea of like you accepting your friends to be there to help you no matter what, right? Like there's like a really wholesome moment here. The way that we have Seraphine kind of like lifting her from the ground, it kind of restores all her hope for like finding Rakan again. So the flashing sequence kind of like, it's almost like a throwback of like all the moments that she lived with Rakan and that is worth like fighting for. And Seraphine being like the one that kind of restored her faith and her like hope into accomplishing her missions.
That's so real. I like that she's like, that Xayah is like trying to pull away from everyone, and they're like, all right, like just let it all out. That's like a really beautiful human experience, and it's because like people who are capable of that level of grace and understanding have probably themselves too been through moments where they lashed out or said something they didn't mean, or people know what it's like to be in that state of like total distress. And that's something that I think like kind humans are good at doing for other people. It's like being there for them when they're saying or doing things that they don't mean, and seeing them for who they really are with grace and compassion. And yeah, that to me is definitely the emotional climax. And I think the thing that makes it really work is that we tried a bunch of different melodies and a bunch of different chord moves and bass lines and stuff like that for that to match up with that moment where there's this hug and then there's this rush of memories. That sequence, I think one thing that really makes it work is that we kind of pair this moment where it's all this grief comes rushing forth, and all the sadness comes rushing forth, and it's accompanied with these shots of all these memories that are, you can see them as being sort of like mundane or trivial or everyday, but that's what makes them beautiful. And instead of trying to have the music hit a really sad note there, we had some like options with the chords and with the vocal melodies, and that sequence there like goes for like a really cute, happy chord progression, really happy melodic variation.
I told you to forget me, but you stayed by my side when I said, don't try to make yourself remember.
And like it just became so much more chills inducing with the like kind of cute, simple melody there rather than something that tries to say sad.
So here, like what we wanted to like communicate here is that Kaisa is confused. It's been like a journey, right? Like this is like her first transformation. Like it's kind of messing with her mind, and she sees like a glimpse of Akali there, but it's not really. It's her new team, and her new team is there to kind of like lift her up and kind of welcome her as their leader.
Yeah, I really like the second line of the chorus. I like how it sings and I like how it feels. That's the "Don't look for me, I'm just a story you've been told." I like the thing that I like so much about that line is that you can tell that the speaker isn't really saying it with their chest. You know what I mean? It's like is that what you really want? You really want me to treat you like somebody that didn't love you? Like I don't know. I like that. I like a line in lyrics that possesses like some trait that makes the speaker seem sort of fallible. I think it's really easy to write lyrics that suggest that the author has all the answers and knows it has life figured out and stuff like that. And I really like that line.
The way that we play with this shot kind of orbiting around the characters is that like she goes from being like this recently new character in the group to becoming the leader. So we wanted to really like play into like this like confidence that she's done the sacrifice, she's gone through that emotional journey, and now she's ready to be the leader. Here, like what we wanted to like communicate here is that them all together, like it's a very wholesome moment. They're all holding hands, they're all like together in this mission to find Rakan. So there's hope. Same thing for Kaisa. They all look up, they all look into the sky because there's hope. And we really wanted to finish the piece with this like hopeful kind of moment for both the crews. I think like the the overall notion that she needs to be a leader for her group, and that's not just like Akali, right? Like there's Rell, there's Quinn, there's Sona, there's Ekko, there's Taliyah, there's Nilah. Everyone is looking for Xayah to be the leader, to have the right answers and to kind of like guide them through that journey. So I think like in a sense, it's almost like graduation for her. It's like her stepping into a role that she becomes the de facto leader of the group. And there's like incredible pressure in doing so.
I really like the fact that this is really guitar driven, and I also like the fact that it's really, really driven by the vocal and by writing, by like lyric writing. I'm always looking for like a new frontier, and a lot of my music in the past was kind of driven by drops and instrumental sections, and I just love how much of everything goes on is like the song is taking center stage, and it's the thing that keeps the momentum in the music. I think that's really the highlight for me.
But I think for Star Garden, there's definitely like a very youthful, kind of energetic, wholesome opportunity to explore those themes, right? And we wanted to really like bring that to players, like that sense of there's drama, there's tears, but there's like happiness, and there's going to be memes and everything. But it essentially is a feel-good moment, like in general. And I can't think of any other alternate universe IP that we created that could potentially deliver at that scale, with that like depth.
But it was definitely part of my fiance's bucket list, who's been playing the game since like season 3, and she was like, if you ever do something with League of Legends, like if you ever get the chance, like please do it. And also her other request was, if you ever get the chance to do anything with League of Legends, can I please like contribute in some way? And there's actually, you can hear this choir that happens at the end of the first pre-chorus, and that choir is made up entirely of Rika's voice. I brought her into my studio, and I wrote this like choir part for her, and she sang it. And so now her voice is kind of immortalized in the world of League, which is really exciting for both of us.
Drinking from the fountain, directly from the fountain, in terms of inspiration, and like with Madoka and Sailor Moon. I think for us, it was important to kind of like keep building our own IP and kind of like keep building our own like traits, right? We try to retain the personalities of Xayah, Xayah, Akali, Sona, from League, right? Like they're not from Sailor Moon, they're not from Madoka. Xayah is Xayah, even though she's in the Star Guardian universe. And I think like that's very important for us, is to retain, is that like the characters still have like a specific personality that is like familiar with their canon versions. And I think that's like how we differentiate ourselves, is like creating this unique intersection between this universe, like the mechanics and the constructs of that universe, but having the personality of the characters coming alive that is still recognizable.
And for me, it's so cool to see this cast of characters kind of with the magical girl worldview applied on top of it, and like with my music, I grew up on AMVs in a very real way, and like I remember like watching AMVs and getting the chills and crying, and to take part in in another animated like actual production where we get to make it exactly as we envisioned, it's just really cool.